Where am I resisting? Can you give an example of how what resistance looks like from the human perspective?
This is much of the goodness of the question. But before this, you are much of the anxiousness. We do of the being of the remembering. You are asking of the channel. Oh, please show me. Please make this happen. I want to see everything. I want to make everything happen. This was much of the funniness, but this is much of the experience that many of the being of the happening, much of the resistance to be then trying to make of the forcingness of everything to be of the happening. But until you be of the letting of the goness, until you are letting go of the resistance and remembering of the resistance comes in what you be of the experiencing different experiences of the reality. Some are of the forcingness. Forcingness is of a resistance pattern. Some of it is of the ignoringness. Some of it is of the running awayness. Some of it is of the being of the stubbornness. These are all of what we would be of the considering of the resistanceness that we are.
Welcome to Galactic Guidance, the show that channels the wisdom of beings from higher realms. Join us as we tap into the cosmic consciousness and receive messages of clear guidance to help us navigate our spiritual evolution on planet Earth. So sit back, relax, and let's connect into the higher frequency. Well, Happy New Year, Marcus.
Happy New Year, Eleni. So wonderful to be here again with you and our beautiful friends.
Yeah, really excited for this episode, really excited for this series, really excited for this year, because I really believe that what we're doing here on this particular platform is really talking to people in the future. Because how many people out there can open their mind up to the fact that we are talking to a higher dimensional being from another planet? You really have to leave your old thought systems behind to accept that. But what I would like to say for those of you who are listening is that even if you can't get your head around that Marcus actually channels a higher dimensional being called Ameed from the Lyra Star System. He's been doing this for 30 years and his story is told in episode 1 of this series. Even if you can't get your head around that, it doesn't really matter. Just feel into the message and hear the message. So really just feel into the message. Like, does it matter where it comes from? As long as the message is of the highest good for all, as long as you can benefit, it doesn't really matter. So if that's what's keeping you from listening to the rest of this episode, let that go and just hear what the message is. And it doesn't matter that it's from a higher dimensional being, from another star system. That makes it all, very fascinating. But just listen to the message, because that's what we need to listen to.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. It's always feeling into the energy of it, and as we move into the next sort of dimension, it's about tuning into the truth. In the next dimension, untruths are not going to exist or can't exist in that higher frequency. And so when you're listening to any of these things, it's about feeling into the energy of it and letting it acknowledge you, letting it acknowledge a level of truth, whatever that is for you, and just feel into that.
Yeah, what you've
regardless
just said,
of where it comes from.
Exactly. And Marcus, what you're really talking about is discernment. And I think more than ever, we have to have discernment in terms of,
totally.
Is what I'm listening to the truth?
Yeah, is it for me? Is it resonating something within me? Is it giving me a feeling of surety and calm and peace and reassurance and whatever you may be receiving from it? And, I think, Eleni, remaining a healthy skeptic's always good. I'm still a healthy skeptic. And so, even having done this for 30 years, I'm continually feeling into the truth of it all. And, for a while I stopped doing it because of that. And then I realized that, like you said, does it really matter as long as it's helping people, as long as it's helping me, as long as it's helping you? You know, if it helps one person, if it gives one person a feeling of surety and a feeling, you know, it helps them to step into that infinite possibility or infinite potential of who they are, then it's worth it.
Absolutely.
So,
And in this week's episode, we really want to honour the year that's been and welcome the year that's
mm,
coming. And I really
mm,
want to talk to Ameed about the year that's coming. So whenever you're
sure.
ready, Marcus, to
All right.
go into that state, just go right ahead. So if you're watching this for the first time, Marcus is now connecting into Ameed, who is a female energy from an advanced planet who is in physical form. And when Ameed comes forward, we have a beautiful discussion. And what we're going to be talking about is 2024.
It is much of the welcoming in on this space, on this sacred moment, Miss of the Eleni. This is much of the specialness. We are much of welcoming this of the return of the conversation that we are able to be of the having with of the you in this of the space and of the time, in this of the experience, in this of the what you be of the calling of your new of the yearness, your new of the solar return and your solar of the journey. And we are much of the joyness that we are be able to be in the backness here and be of the sharingness, to be of the assistance, to be of the help, much of the joy.
Much of the joy from my part too, Ameed. And I always love the conversations and the energy that you bring forward. And I so appreciate both you and Marcus. So, what I really want to ask you about is that we've just finished a year and we're starting a new year. And for me, when I was thinking about this morning, it felt more like not what will be or what I will do, but who I will become. And I'm hoping that you can talk to, in order for our planet to move forward and our level of consciousness to move forward, who do we need to become, Ameed?
This is much of the goodness of the question. One of the aspects that you must be of the understanding is that your of the journeyness is much like of the spiral, that you are not beginning and of the ending, you are just of the rotation into the other dimensions of the realityness, into different of the frequencies. So you're of the question being of what are you hit of the beingness is much of the importance. For you are in a spiral experience of expanding of your frequency and of the resonance. Much of what you have been of the experiencing, much of what you of the humanness have been of the experiencing is of the resistance of this spiral experience of expansion into what you be of the considering more of the expanded frequencies of the resonant field. And it is just of the resistance that is interfering with you of the spiral nature of your existence. What we have been of the noticing, and one of the reasons that we have been of the coldness here is of your resistance to be in of the spiralness. There is much of the resistance on the planet, much of the resistance in of the mindscape of the human experience that is not of the allowing of the spiralness into the next evolutionary dimension of the reality scape. We have been of the coming here now. We are being here of the messaging. We are being here of the supporting to assist you to be of the releasing so that you can be of the spiral nature of the existence of your reality. This is of the nature of the universe of itself. What you must be of the understanding is a consciousness. The expansion of the consciousness is of the spiral nature of the reality. There has been many of the clues here left for you on the earthscape, many of the clues to show you the spiral nature of how you be of the mixing of the energetic forces so that you can create of another chemical nature of the reality. What you must be of the understanding is, as you're being in the spiral nature, the expansive nature of the frequency, the resonant dimensional reality, is that in the spiral nature you are creating different chemical structures within the physical of the form. You are activating different chemical structures within the mindscape. This is all of the helping you to expand of your consciousness nature. You must understand that the resonant field that you are being of the existing in is much influenced by the consciousness of the reality. It is much of the consciousness that is leading your biological and of the physiologicalness of your expansion of the formness of your physical of the reality. It is influencing your mindscape and of your heartscape. But within this spiral construct of consciousness expanding, you must be constantly in of the releasing of the resonant fields that are no longer of the serving this spiral nature of the existence of reality. Each time you are rotating around of the solar, you are expanding into the next dimensional nature of the reality. This is why you be of the making, what you be calling of the news of the resolution, because you are trying to be stepping into the next resonant frequency, the next expanded reality of your existence. But what you are being of the finding, what you have been of the finding and of the last solar cycle, is that you have been allowing of the resistance patterns to interfere with this of the expanded nature of the consciousness. One of the aspects of this in the new of the solar is that you cannot be doing this any other longer. You will be experiencing a much more of the destabilized painness of holding on to the constructs of the untruthness that no longer being of the serving you. These could be untruths of mindscape conscious, or the heartscape conscious, or the physical of the conscious. But you must be now in the of the activity of being aware of these resonant frequencies that are no longer being of the serving you. We were of the listening, Miss Eleni, when you were talking about listening to our message and being of the openness to be of the receiving of the message, regardless of whether you are being in the mindscape thinking that this is of the truthfulness or this is not of the truthfulness. You must be allowing yourself to release of the resistance of anything that is not being of the allowing you to be in the expanded nature of the reality. Whether you be of the believing is not whether something is of the truthfulness or the non-truthfulness. You cannot be in the believing but still be in of the truthfulness of it. What you will see is that the truthfulness or the untruthfulness of any of the situations is a resonant frequency field. It is not the same as of the belief. It is not the same of the convincing you that something is an aspect that you should be of the believing in. These are very different of the constructs. The truth is of the energetic pattern, and the truth is an energetic frequency that exists regardless of whether you be of the believing or not of the believing. What we wish for you to be doing is moving into what we'd be calling of the infinite potential. And when you are anchoring around of the belief system, and the belief system of limited of the resonant frequency experience, then you are not able to connect into of the truthfulness. And there is a resonant field of truthfulness that exists in of the universe. You might be of considering of the ultimate of the truthfulness, and many of your of the scientists are looking for this ultimate of the truthfulness, but it is of the existing there, and they will be of the finding this as things are being of the unfolding. But in this moment, you can be of the connecting into of the truthfulness in any of the given moments. But don't be of the confusing that the truthfulness is of a believing system. You don't have to be in of the believing system. In fact, it is one of the aspects that you must be now in the releasing of the believing of the systems, and stepping into the resonant frequency of the truthfulness of any given situation, any given thought of the process or feelingscape of the process. You must be of the releasing this. So when you are being of the releasing, you will see that this of the yearness, this of the next spiral adventure around the solar of the system, is going to be one of much of the growthfulness, of activated of the expansion, of the speeding up of that the expansion. And this is why you will be experiencing the tug of the painfulness if you are hanging on to much of the old energetics, much of the old resonant fields that are no longer being of the serving you. You must be in the flow, like being of in the riverness, just allowing the flow, just being in of the flow. And any of the resistance that wants to make you be of the swimming against of the tide or desperately trying to get to the shore, you must relax into and be of the letting go-ness. This is of much of the importance for this of the next solar of the cycleness.
So what I'm hearing from you, Ameed, is that this next cycle, which really is a spiral in the way that we evolve, it's not a linear line, that in order for us to expand into it, we need to let go of resistance. And so can you give us some very human examples, and I'm happy for you to use my life as an example, as to what does resistance look like? Because these terms are easy concepts to throw around, but for that person that's listening and they really need to understand, well, where am I resisting? Can you give an example of how what resistance looks like from the human perspective?
This is much of the goodness of the question. And what you must be of the understanding of the resistance is that the resistance looks like of a holding on to, for of the example of the belief of the systems. So if you are thinking of your mindscape, you are thinking of the belief systems that you're holding on to very much of the strongness, and that you are not allowing any of the other opportunities of the beliefness to be of the appearing. This doesn't mean that you cannot have of the belief system. What this is of meaning is that you need to be much more of the fluidness within of the belief system. So you must be able to be of the saying to yourself, I believe in this of the aspect. And if we be of the using your example as you are much of the allowingness for this to be of the happening, there is much of a belief system within you that said you must be much of the active, must be much of the if we think about this in of the resonant field, there is much of the nervousness, of the tension. There's much of the, this is what we were being of the feeling of you. And there was this belief that you had to be much of the activeness. You had to be much of the tenseness. You had to be much of the focusedness. You had to be much of the busyness. There was much of the belief system that this is the way that you must be. Got to be of the doingness and of the making of the happeningness. But then what you have been experiencing is that you have been of the letting this go, and your life is much more in of the resonant, stable frequencies, much more of the flowness, much more of the calmness, much more of the relaxedness. And therefore you are able to be experiencing of the truthfulness. You are able to be experiencing of the expanded awareness of the consciousness reality. But you are still having of the belief systems. You are still having some of the experiences of the belief systems. But now you have been of the letting go of the resistance of the what you might be considered of the hardness of that of the belief system. So you can still be having of the belief system, but you must be softening so that you can be of the allowing other aspects of this of the belief system, allowing other aspects of the truthfulness of the belief system. What we have been noticing and what we are seeing when you are at this of the dimensional level of the existence and of the evolutionary process is that you very much be grabbing hold of what you have been informed of as of the truthfulness. You then be of the constructing of a belief system around this this truthfulness that you have been gifted, and then you are very much holding on to this truthfulness, and you would be of the fightingness to hold on to of the truthfulness. You'd be of the being of the hurting of the others to hold on to your beliefness, and that this of the beliefness is of the truthfulness. When what we are being of the asking and of the practicalness is that you be of the releasing of the solidness of the belief system. You imagine that your belief system was once of the ice block, and that now you are allowing the ice block to be of the melting. What you find is in the melting of the ice block, there is still of the water there. The construct of the ice is still of the existing. It does not be of the disappearing. And this is of the mistake that we see, the causes of the stressedness, the causes of the anxietyness that are appearing within you, that you think that you have to take the ice block and you have to be of the throwing it away. You have to be pouring of the water onto the earthscape. But this is not of the case. You can continue to hold of the water, but you must now be allowing the water to be of the meltingness, to be able to become of the softness and be of the flowness, not be of the ice blockness. Does this be of the helping, Miss of the Eleni?
Okay, so what I heard you say was that, like in my example, where I had this belief previously that I needed to do in order to achieve, and then I let go of that belief and I took on another belief that, the universe will provide. What you're saying is that we let go of all beliefs. We just let go of all beliefs. We don't replace one belief with another belief. We just let
Yes.
go of all beliefs.
This is of the possibility, but of the example, your ice block was much of the, I have to do it in of the certain of the way to make a being of the successness. And then you just be of the allowing the ice block to dissipate and be of the disappearing, and it then turned into of the water. And then what you are finding is that your belief of the have to be of the doingness began to be of the changing, and it changed from of the doingness to be of the beingness. So what you will find is the belief system, the construct of the belief system still be of the existing, but it being of the changing from a ice block of belief into of the water of the belief. And so therefore you are being of the relaxing into more of the truthfulness of the belief. There's still the construct of the belief, the aspects that created the belief are still being of the existence, because some of those aspects are of the miscellany, her of the selfness. They are part of you of the experience and of your of the existence. And one of the issues that you're being of the facing for you of the humanness is that you're desperately trying to remove and get rid of the belief of the systems, when rather you are trying to be of the transition of the belief system. So therefore the construct of the belief, and what we are being of the sharing here, is that the belief is of the ice block, that you are shifting, you are spiraling the ice block into of the water construct. So therefore the chemical makeup of your belief system is still in the existence. What has now been of the happening is you have been allowing other aspects of the chemical nature of your belief system to come in and to assist in the melting of the ice block of the belief system. So what we are of the saying is that you do not need to be of the removing of the belief systems. You do not need to be of the, oh dear, I have to have a much of the different belief system. I have to throw all of the things away that I thought were of the realness to be able to embrace of the next aspect of the reality. Not necessarily of the ceremonialness. You just need to be of the melting of the rigidity of the belief system. What you will then be of the finding is that as you be of the releasing of the rigidity of the belief system, the ice block begins to melt. When the ice block begins to melt, you're allowed to then be of the acceptance of other chemical aspects that can come into of the water. If we think about this from another of the examples that you are being of the requesting, it would be like you have of the ice block, and you are trying to mix of the sugar into the ice blocks. And what you do is you get a scoop of the sugar, of the honey. Yes, let's be of the using of the honey. You take a scoop of the honey and you place it on top of the ice block, and you sit there and you watch the honey. And the honey just is sitting on top of the ice block. It's not integrating with of the ice block. It just is sitting there. This is what is like having of the belief system and trying to be of the accepting a new aspect or other aspects of the truthfulness of the reality. But when you allow, firstly, of the ice block to be of the melting, you can then see of the honey seeping into of the water. You can then create of the spiralness and therefore integrate the chemical construct of the belief into the water aspect. And then you have of a more expanded of the belief. The belief, chemical compounds of the belief is still of the existence, but now you have being of the adding another aspect, a sweeter aspect of the belief system, a more expanded version of the belief system. This is what has happened to you, Miss Eleni. You had a belief of the system that you must be of the doingness, lots and lots of the doingness, so that you can be much more of the expanded or be living of the fullness of who you are. You then be of the allowing the ice block to be of the meltingness. What then be of the happening is that all of this beautiful honey came into of the water, all of these beautiful of the experiences to open up of your consciousness, to open up of your mindscape and of your heartscape so that you could see another truth of the reality. And then you took the chemical construct, the water of the construct that was existing before, and you allowed the other chemical components of the mindscape and of the heartscape to come in. And then you spiraled your of the belief into a new and most expansive, more consciously aware of the belief system. But the water is still remaining, but you're now allowing other aspects of the truthfulness to come in. You are now allowing yourself to connect with of the deeper truthfulness of who you are. This is then of creating more stability within your experience so that you can be much more of the joyfulness, much more of the happiness, much more of what you'd be calling of the calmness. And we have been of the noticing your shift. And this is of the perfect example for of the others to be of the seeing. This beautiful of the shift that you have been of the creating. But before this, you are much of the anxiousness. We do of the being of the remembering. You are asking of the channel, oh, please show me, please make this happen. I want to see everything. I want to make everything happen. This was much of the funniness, but this is much of the experience that many of being of the happening. Much of the resistance to be then trying to make of the forcingness of everything to be of the happening. But until you be of the letting of the goness, until you are letting go of the resistance and remembering of the resistance comes in what you be of the experiencing, different experiences of the reality. Some are of the forcingness. Forcingness is of a resistance pattern. Some of it is of the ignoringness. Some of it is of the running awayness. Some of it is of the being of the stubbornness. These are all of what we would be of the considering of the resistanceness that we are being of the speaking of. But now, Miss of the Eleni, you are letting go of much of the resistance, and you are allowing chemical components to come into of your mindscape and of your heartscape, and you are allowing this beautiful of the waterness to turn into much of the vibrancy of what you might consider of the tropicalness of the seasness, because we know that you are being of the loving of this color of that water. And so you are allowing this to be of the happening. And then others can be looking at your water and going, oh, Miss Eleni's water is such of the beautifulness. What is her secret? The secretness that you are being of the having is the releasing of a resistance, be that of what you might consider the positive resistance or of what you consider of the negative resistance. Whatever way you are considering resistance, it is still of the resistance. And you are just allowing to be in the water of the flowness. So then what you be experiencing as you go from the looking at the ice of the cubeness to being looking at the waterness to eventually, which is what you are now experiencing, Miss Eleni, that you are actually in of the waterness. You are the waterness. You are no longer looking at the waterness going, wow, I am here as a hard ice of the blockness, and now I'm here looking at the waterness and I'm mixing some of the chemical aspects together to be now being in of the water. You are of the water.
And that beautifully answers the question that I first started with, is who we are becoming of the water, because that's who we are.
Of the becoming. You must be of the remembering that you are in much of the timescape reality of experience, you are moving from what you'd be considering of a carbon base of the being into of the silicon base of the being. what you would be experiencing if we were in this of the space together in the physical aspect, you would be seeing us as silicon of the base beings, not of the carbon-based beings. And what you're experiencing this of the example is it is like of the ice block is of the carbon being, and of the water is like of the silicon being. And this is where you are being of the moving to, is moving into that aspect of the reality where you are much more in of the flow, that they are much more in of the roundness, much more of the softness. This is what is being of the allowing us to be connecting in at much more expansive consciousness construct. What you will be finding is that you might be of the wondering, now, does the consciousness lead the physical, or does the physical lead of the consciousness? And what you would be knowing is the consciousness leads of the physical. So as you be of the expanding of your consciousness, your physical biology, your physical experience will be of the changingness. You are becoming much more rounder and softer and much more of the silicon-based being, not of the carbon-based being. But you must be allowing your DNA to be of the expanding nature. You must be of the allowing the codes to be of the opening up. This is what is happening at a much deeper physiological of the levelness, much deeper in the cellular construct and the energetic construct of who you are. You will be seeing other strands of the DNA are beginning to be of the activated. This is allowing more of the codes of information to be released into you. This is the expansion from the inside of the outfulness. This is what is happening with you.
Thank you so much, Ameed. I really, really love this discussion. Thank you.
We much of the love of this discussion. This is much of the softfulness. And we are being of the loving, where this of the spiral nature of the reality is being of the taking you. This is much of the excitement, for we are meeting once again as part of the universal of the family of the lightness. We are wishing and much of the welcoming you of the homeness. You are much blessed and much of the loveness, and we are much of the joyfulness to be in this of the spaceness. You are much of the blessed, much of the love.
Thank you.
Oh. Ooh. Wow. Hello. Oh. How are you going?
We'll just give you a second to
come back. All right.
To come back.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello.
Oh.
Very interesting discussion.
Me, yeah. Okay.
About when I was talking about what this year will bring and who we become from this year, it's really about allowing ourselves to become by continuing to let go of resistance. And I like what Ameed said at the end. What resistance looks like is not just hanging on. Resistance might be avoidance. Resistance might be procrastination. Yep. Resistance might be wanting to achieve. Like resistance has many different ways of appearing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, it
just feels like we're at the pointy end in terms of, the obvious things are easy to spot in terms of what we need to let go of, like the doing and the busyness and the stress and the anxiety and the having to think that, we have to achieve. It's not easy, but if you've gone through the process of doing it, it's like that's a big lot of work. But now it's the little nuances of that we still hang on, that we have to watch and let go of. What can you say on that, Marcus?
Yeah. At the end of the day, this is all about expansion, right? We're trying to expand our conscious reality, our physical reality, whatever. And anything that stops expansion, right? Any belief or thought or action or habit or whatever you want to call it, that interferes with that we need to release, let go of, or and as you said, that could come in all sorts of disguises, and often we think of these things as negative. Where are the negative things in my life? Negative thoughts, people, activities. But we sometimes don't think of the positive things, or what look like positive. For you, working diligently and hard and was a positive thing, right? I'm doing good on the planet. Look at all these people I'm helping, and look at the amazing business I've built. Yay for me, right? But if you look at your expansion, that was stopping you. That couldn't exist if you were going to continue to expand, right? It was like me with my other business, right? Which you sort of walked through with me and helped me through that to some, as well. I couldn't hold on to that anymore, even though it looked positive. And anyone from outside might go, what are you people doing? Crazy, letting go of something so successful, making so much money and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, but is it helping me to expand? No. So the money doesn't matter. The fame and fortune and accolades and blah, 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 whatever. Not that we're overly famous, Eleni, but do you know what I mean? Like that stuff, it can't exist anymore. It can't exist.
Yeah.
Otherwise we don't expand, and then it becomes really painful, and then potentially your physical field is affected from an illness point of view. And I mean, it's why I got chronic fatigue years ago, right? Because I wouldn't let go of the corporate world, because that's all I knew. And that was the construct that, I don't know, gave me value or worth, I thought. But we have to, so they're the things I think to consider. And now we'd, like you said, go into the more nitty gritty of it and go, okay, where are the little things that are creating bigger, vibrations affecting me, and what else can I do just to, relax into who I am.
And ultimately, it's all about trust and surrender.
Totally.
And knowing that there's a greater force here at play, and that we're just the little ants. And what we need to do is just let go, stop hanging on, and then we go along for the ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Just expand everything in your world, your belief systems, thoughts, feelings. Just, ask the next question and just allow other possibilities to appear. You don't have to believe anything, but it's important to allow things to appear and to be in the consideration of those things, right? I might not believe in this thing, but what if it were possible? Okay, that's interesting. And that's the question I often ask my brain when I get anchored into a belief system or a thought or a thing. I just ask the brain the question, what if it were possible? So, for example, I had and Ameed gave me this, and I think I've spoken about this before, but I'd seen this concept of the flat Earth thing appearing on the planet over the last few years, and I had a very strong belief system about it. It's ridiculous. They're all mad. They're stupid, right? And Ameed came and had a chat to me one day, and she goes, this is resistance to you expanding. I go, what do you mean? I don't believe the Earth is flat, right? I mean, it's insane. And she goes, it's not the point whether you believe it or not. The point is whether you allow it to expand you. So then I changed my tune. I went, well, what if that were possible? What if flat Earth is true? What then? And what happened to me when I did that exercise is I instantly expanded. I went, wow. So imagine if that was possible. Imagine all the amazing things and incredible things that could open up.
Yeah.
And then other things open up.
Beautiful.
So,
absolutely. Yeah.
So whenever you've got something you think is resistance, or, just question and go, but what if it were possible? Like for you, what if it were possible that you didn't have to work and strain and stress, and do you know what I mean? And now look what's happened.
And it is.
Well, that's exactly right.
It is possible.
That's exactly right. Of course.
Yeah. Like I've been swimming every single day. Yesterday I swam 3 times in the ocean. But
the interesting thing, in your old paradigm, that couldn't have been possible. That wasn't possible.
Because that would have been a waste of time.
Of course it was. Oh my God, I can't do that.
Also, I had a belief that, that would be the future self once I've become financially free, and that's the dream. But yet we can live the dream now.
Exactly.
We just need to know that it's all there for us.
Totally.
And so a really good
Totally.
way to close up this beautiful episode is ask yourself, what if? What if it is
What if?
possible?
What if? What if the earth is flat? What if it's round? What if this
Yeah.
conversation is from someone from Lyra to sort of end where we started? What if it was possible? What then?
Mm-hmm.
And
Beautiful.
yeah, and that allows us to continue to expand. Yeah, so you don't have to clear belief systems and get rid of them or anything. You just have to expand into the next beautiful, truthful reality of who you are. That's all. So, thank you, Eleni.
Thank you, Marcus. I'm really looking forward to having more enlightening conversations with yourself and Ameed. Truly, this once a week discussion is something that I really hold sacred. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Blessings. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Galactic Guidance. We hope that the messages that you receive from the higher realms have brought you clarity, insight, and comfort. Please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Remember to stay connected to your own inner guidance and trust the journey ahead.